Nice. Okay, so hello and welcome everyone to the next Roots and Resilience evening. Yeah, we've got some good sessions happening today. We've got Roy talking about Ikigai. I'm going to speak about grafting. Then we've got Hugh speaking about permablitzing. Do we want to permablitz? We've got Emma speaking about herbaceous perennials. And we did have a session from Julie, but at the last minute, she's not able to make it. So yeah, we can maybe speak more about plants at the end or any other topics coming up. Let's see how it goes and how the feeling is. So yeah, maybe we can do a check-in. Everyone, we all know each other, but yeah, if people like to share how they're feeling, where they're at today. So shall we start with Roy?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, feeling good, feeling happy to be here. And yeah, today is awesome because the next 2 days I'm free from work. So yes.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, that's it.
Super. So sheep.
Yeah, as far as I know, I'm cool. Had a tough day. No, a busy day. Had a busy day. Bought like a lot of things for the kitchen, so can't wait to use them. And yeah, I'm in for some new things of the Woods and Permaculture group. I started gardening again. I stopped with it a while, but today I already did like a lot. So I'm ready for
Nice.
you. I'm ready for you all.
Fantastic. Wonderful. So Hugh, followed by Zoe. Okay, we'll come back to Hugh. So Zoe.
Your mic is off.
I'm doing very well. I'm still full of energy of like random adventures yesterday, and I just had a calm day today. So yeah, I really had a really nice day.
Wonderful. Okay, maybe Hugh's already multitasking. I don't know. Are you there, Hugh? Okay.
Hello. Yeah, I've just had a lot of unexpected stuff came in today, so I'm a bit sort of. So yeah, it's just stuff with work and what have you. So yeah, but I'm okay, and it's a beautiful day, so I'm doubly okay about that. It's just really nice, not too hot, dry, lovely clouds in the sky. Looks like a sort of kid's painting almost, with sort of these white fluffy clouds in the sky.
Wonderful. Like a British idiom. Yeah, I'm also feeling a bit today, but yeah, from entirely expected things. It's very hot and dry. The ground is cracked. It's Bulgarian summer, more than 35 degrees. But yeah, been making some more oxymel from the sea buckthorn and making some experiments, sea buckthorn lemonade, which is pretty nice. And realizing that if you use clover as a ground cover on your paths and you don't trim it before it flowers and you walk barefoot, you might get a nasty surprise, because sadly I stepped on a bee today. So yeah, either, and it's the second time I've done it, so either it's a message for me, it's a sign that I need to stimulate something on my left side, or it's a sign that I need to think about the garden design. So yeah, that's what happened to me today. So wonderful. Yeah, it's lovely to be together with all of you. And let's begin with Roy's session.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can somebody make me a screen share?
You should be able to.
Oh, yes, I am able to. Great. Well, if you choose the right one. Yeah, great. Yes, give me a little while. But in the meantime, yeah, this session is going to be about Ikigai. Ikigai, pronounced correctly. First thing I want to know, is there anybody who can count how many times I'm going to say Ikigai in the session? Yep. We got Zoe over there. Great. So let me just do this right. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, great. Yes. So I'm a bit behind, I see. Okay, can you only see one image at the moment? Or do you see images behind it as well?
We see images behind it. So I see the one with the hot air balloons and behind some text and some diagrams. And all your slides on the side.
Okay, that's weird. Okay, wait, sorry, technical difficulties.
No worries. I see Emma's joined us. Hi Emma, welcome.
Hey Emma. This is the one, right?
Now we just see.
Yes.
Great, awesome.
Yeah.
Woo, I found my Ikigai.
Hi, sorry, I couldn't find the unmute button and I was going, hello.
Hey Emma.
I didn't
Hiya.
realize the time, blimey.
Session is just getting started, so right on time.
Cool.
So yeah, Ikigai. Well, a lot of people think like, okay, well, Ikigai means is the reason for living, something that makes you get out of bed in the morning. And I thought of this first as well, and it's kind of true. But it's way more deeper than that. And I just found out 2 days ago, so excuse me, my knowledge won't be 100% accurate. But yeah, I felt really inspired to share this information anyway. I will give you some sources as well to find out for yourself after this session. So, Ikigai. So it's made up of 2 words. One means to live and the other means to value. So Ikiru means to live and Gai means to value. And this can be interpreted in different ways. So does it mean a value to life or life's value? What kind of values? So it's still broad in a sense. And also the Japanese people, they use it as a really, like it's nothing. Like, oh, I'm gonna go and do this, and this is my Ikigai. For them, it's a very, very normal word to use. But in our Western world, it's kind of special, this word. And you'll find out why is that. So the first time I encountered Ikigai was back in Maastricht. We were doing a sociocracy workshop with Rakesh Rootsman Rak. And somebody shouted like, hey, hi, you can find your Ikigai. And I was like, what? And I love Japanese culture anyway, so I got fascinated. And he was like, yeah, it's a reason why you get up in the morning. I was like, oh, okay. That's cool. Cool concept. And that's when I found this diagram. When you type in Ikigai, you will find this. So what we have here is what we love, what we're good at, what can we be paid for, and what the world needs. All these things in the middle, it's your ikigai. Yeah, and you can see in between, you have the passion. So what you love, what you're good at, is the passion. What the world needs and what you love is a mission. And you can also see the fields in between are kind of like voids, not completely in there. So say, for example, what we love and what we're good at. It could be satisfying, but it doesn't have no positive impact on the world. So it's lacking in a certain area. In this case, what the world needs. So you will always have some kind of feeling like, I love what I do, but still there's something I'm missing. So we can try this out. I've prepared a little design exercise for you. And yeah, you're just gonna take 5 minutes and come up with the 2 first circles, which is first make a list of what you love doing. Then you make a list of what you're good at, and then cross-pollinate those 2, and then you have something that's your passion. Well, passion, because in a sense you can also have passion in the things you just love or what you're good at. You don't have to be necessarily good at something to have passion, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so this is where I kind of started at, and I think it's a very valuable exercise to start with. And yeah, just any questions before we start this little exercise? Nope.
Nope.
Okay, great. Then I'll just take 5 minutes and I will let you know when the time is finished. I'll start the timer. Enjoy.
Thanks.
Got about 2 minutes left. All right, well, time is almost up. Maybe somebody would like to share something that came out of this. There's something like, this is what I want to say, I discovered, or if not, I can share mine as well.
I think Zoe shared hers in the chat.
Oh yeah, the chat. Cool. Nice. Yeah, well, really, while I was making this list as well, it's like, okay, what I love doing, and just started thinking about things you love, and it's like, wow, you start thinking about those memories, and like you get a good feeling inside, and like, wow, look at all the things I love doing. Just, it's wonderful. So yeah, 5 minutes definitely not enough, but you got a bit of a feeling of how you can do it. Eventually, like in a permaculture mindset, you can make a list, or you can make mind maps out of this. See combinations like, oh wait, if I love to do it, if I'm good at doing it, can I also be paid for it, maybe? And then is it also something the world needs? And you can also do this exercise with another team. So just saying, okay, what is my permaculture ikigai? What do I love in the permaculture world? What am I good at, etc. And it just keeps evolving. And so yeah, I really do like this diagram as well, as Sophie mentioned. Thank you. And this is actually a Western interpretation of ikigai. Well, it's just how we perceive things from the East. And many coaches, managers, and those kind of people, they spread this diagram around and say like, okay, well, this is ikigai. But actually, they promote money-driven motivations as well. So it's a bit not the full ikigai, I would say, but still very cool. So this diagram is actually made by Andres Zuzunaga. He's a Spanish astrologer and entrepreneur, and yeah, somebody just found this diagram in Spanish. I was like, oh, let's make an ikigai diagram out of it. So that's just things are happening on the internet. So ikigai. now that we did a little exercise, I want to go a bit deeper into the philosophy. So Ikigai is about, it can be about life's accomplishments, but it can also be about the Ikigai of drinking your mint tea at 8 o'clock in the morning. So it's quite quite a big concept. So these are the things that that are written in the book. I started to read a book. It's called the Ikigai Tribe, and it collects information from different people who research authentic Japanese Ikigai. So yeah, by living in harmony with our values through our roles and relationships, by finding life satisfaction in our work, hobbies, and interests. Keep watching at that screen. Well, I could also watch here. Okay. By having a sense of purpose in what we do, by having feeling of gratitude for what we have, and from personal creativity and in transformational experience. So I hope this clears up a bit about what Ikigai means, because yeah, and like a mother of a child could say like, oh, my son is my Ikigai. And that's a source of Ikigai. But you can also experience Ikigai from within. So it's also a mental thing. External and outer, external and internal relationships found in many patterns in the Japanese philosophy. So in a nutshell, yeah, Ikigai is a spectrum. The complexity of Ikigai actually reflects the complexity of life itself. In order to be a master of Ikigai, you will really need to appreciate how complex and rich life actually is. This is written by Ken Mogi. He's a research and neuroscientist who has been studying for many years. And yeah, what can I tell about it? I think it's interesting to see it's a spectrum, and as a permaculture designers, we also see the wholeness of things. We don't leave anything out or like discard things just because it suits us. We have to accept and face nature and reality how that is. And yeah, it can be very beautiful. It can be very destructive. That's how it is. But really, it's a journey to your soul, to your essence, to your who am I really? Like, am I just somebody who's been taught that I was this, or am I actually preferring to do this? So it can be quite confronting, but yeah, by meeting your outside comfort zone, sometimes you find these things because there's a reason why you avoid sometimes such things. Well, having said that, so where do I start? I think I thought of the permaculture principle, small and slow solutions. So you can start anywhere. As this quote says, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Thank you, Sophie, for sharing that quote. She mentioned it in her presentations a few days ago. This is cool, you know, like you can do it right away. You can say, well, oh, where can I find my Ikigai moment, that my soul is lifted and that I feel like, this is what makes me feel alive. So, and this is then a part of another permaculture principle, is which is attached to this piece of text as well, because our ecosystem is full of feedback and feedback loops, like giving of signals like, hey, oh, I need some water, or hey, I need some nutrients, or whatever it might be. That's the complexity. Yeah, that's how complex it is, and your body is the same. It works like an ecosystem. Your mind works the same. Everything is a feedback loop. So it's good to use. It's I like it. So, any questions before we start with the next session? Sorry, I will go back.
Yeah, I have a question about the permaculture principle you're mentioning. I see this snail, but I kind of forgot what it was for, actually.
This one is use small and slow solutions. Yeah. And it's like the quote that goes with it is the bigger they are, the harder they fall. And slow and steady wins the race.
And the world globe, is that also another one?
Yes, that's apply self-regulation and accept feedback. The quote that goes with it is it has something to do with with a sin of or
the sin of the forefathers is repeated for however many generations, is repeated on the descendants.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
Thank you very much, sir.
I don't remember it word for word, but yeah, that's the idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful diagram, like the kind of idea of those things merging. But yeah, I see Zoe put in the chat that, yeah, she's not sure about the paid for circle. And yeah, while, you know, like money is an energy that, you know, that helps us to do other things. And in that sense, it can be important. It's interesting, I guess, for the kind of case of symmetry, that yeah, the kind of the importance of what you love and what can you be paid for are kind of the same in this diagram. Which, yeah, maybe I wouldn't organize my life with as much focus on both of those things. Maybe like what you're saying is that diagram is not kind of coming necessarily from the Japanese tradition, but it's a kind of interpretation of the idea in a more kind of life coaching situation, is it?
Yeah, this diagram has been made by an astrologer, in fact, and it had nothing to do with ikigai, and somebody found it and made it ikigai. So it's not the true ikigai, what I would say it is, because ikigai isn't in general the Japanese philosophy. I believe it's Buddhism, and it's not about making money. It's not about being materialistic, and those are some basic principles that they already embrace.
Yeah. So what about that circle? Instead of what you can be paid for, maybe like having your needs met, or like, because you've kind of got what the world needs, what you love, what you're good at, and then maybe, yeah, like having your needs met somehow. Because for sure we can do something that we really love, that we're really good at, and that the world really needs. But if we don't have, you know, a warm place to go in winter, and we don't have food and water and whatever, we're not going to be able to carry on doing it for very long, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, maybe we can make a different version of that, which the bottom circle is more about having our needs met, and that could be in terms of money, but in all the other kind of needs that we have.
Obtaining yield in general, like.
What was that, sorry?
Just obtaining a yield in general.
Yeah, maybe that's a nice way to thinking. Yeah.
I love it.
Actually, I wanted to put it obtain yield as well on here on this page, but yeah.
I guess if we need to spend some time earning some money, because we're not in a situation where we can self-sustain ourselves without it. I guess it means we need to spend more of our lives doing the things that we enjoy, and because some of that might have to be work, it's just trying to get all of those good things to be in as much of our lives as possible. I guess.
That's right, yeah.
I know, because I used to work in physio in a hospital, and I realised that actually I'd like to do something that I enjoy more. And I did a little bit of a thing like this, but I've not heard of Ikigai before, and I really like it. And I just thought, well, what do I enjoy? And then I've kind of tried quite a few different things along the way, and still I'm not totally sure what I want to do, but it's really does make you feel more happy when you spend more of your life doing the things that you enjoy.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I like it. It's great.
Thank you. So I just have 2 minutes left. I have a couple of more sheets. So maybe for homework, one of the main drivers of Ikigai is hope, is happiness, but mainly hope, mainly a future oriented philosophy. So what makes your life worth living? And so let's begin with a simple exercise to the thought-provoking question: what things in your day-to-day existence makes your life worth living? Write out what comes to mind. Be completely honest with yourself and try not to force answers. And as you can see, I've offered some examples to get you started. So listening to my favorite music makes my life worth living. Learning about Japan and sharing my knowledge of Japanese culture makes my life worth living. Helping to make the world a better place makes my life worth living. So yeah, just note down some things that makes your life worth living. And yeah, music has always been a great passion. So I'm not gonna go into this one. This is too much detail, but still very interesting. So another researcher that looks in a different way at Ikigai, and I can see people's necks, and cool.
Emma's just putting in
Emma.
a comment. If you want to speak about this in more detail, Roy, we do have flexibility in the timetable because Julie can't make the last session. So if you'd like to continue, we can rejiggle the timetable after this since we're a small group. What does everyone think?
Sure do.
Yeah, would you like to speak a bit more about it, Roy?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so to be continued. Thank you very much. Maybe like 10 minutes. I think 10 minutes would suffice.
Okay, so if you want, you could speak another 10 minutes, then maybe we can have the break, or we do my session and then have a break. We can see when you're done what people feel.
Okay.
So great, continue.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so continuing to the next part. So, and these are just to get you, to get you thinking in other ways. And this philosophy is challenging. Is that the right word? This philosophy is also trying to make you look at different perspectives, and that's why also the text is 19 degrees, because you have to look at things in a different way. But something to say about this is starting small, as we mentioned earlier. Use small and slow solutions, and yeah, just doing the little things can make a big difference. So the second one is releasing yourself. So in this case, it means letting go of attachments and letting go of what you think it's to be you, what others say about you, to really live up to your to your inner voice, the self. Harmony and sustainability. So this looks at relations and to have harmonious relationships with either your environment or with people. It could be anything. That's very important. And then sustainability, of course, it's how can we sustain those things? But maybe even enrich those things. So not sustain it, but enrich those harmonious relationships. So the joy of little things. So, for example, when I wake up, every morning I play a song. And it's gonna be the song that pops up in my head. And I need to play that song. And that just gives me a lot of joy. And I do that every day. It's these little things that make life great as well. So being in the here and now, which means it's like being like a little kid. Like you don't have any awareness exactly about the present or about the past. You don't have fear, you have pure emotions, and which makes you really here. And we could all live for yesterday. We can all look at the future and what actually do we have left if we if something happens with you. So right here, right now, this is the moment that we've all been waiting for, so yeah, it's great. And for the grand finale, the mother of the Ikigai philosophy, she's kind of she is the pioneer. She started with this quite a while ago, I think like 35 years ago. She started getting fascinated by this Ikigai, and she's also a psychologist, so she helps a lot of people with this philosophy as well. Sorry, I couldn't enter it in the spreadsheet, but I still want to tell you what she thinks are the needs, the 7 Ikigai needs. So first one is Ikigai-kan. Ikigai-kan means a source of Ikigai, which means something external. Having meaning and having a value. Self-actualization. Okay. Actualization. So yeah, knowing yourself. That's the big point here. So having freedom as well. Having resonance, having a bright future, to have change and growth, and eventually to have this life satisfaction as well, which all leads to your Ikigai. So, and what you see on this these questions here on the spreadsheet are quite confronting questions, as it may be appearing, but it may be confronting, but you don't have to answer this now. These are big life questions to ponder upon whenever you like, whenever you feel like you need to, whenever you feel ready. It's not, yeah. Don't take it too hard on yourself. Just be cool. And so these questions are: what am I living for, or by whom am I needed? What is a life goal unique to me? Am I doing my best to achieve it? Overall, do I deserve to exist? In general, is life worth living? Okay, so I gave you a little glimpse into the world of Ikigai. Such a big world, and there's so much to explore, and it's really a beautiful philosophy. And yeah, I will share the website with you as well. And since we have 2 minutes left, let's do some questions or feedback from anyone. Thank you very much for joining.
Wonderful. Thanks, Roy. I wanted to ask, is this coming out of Buddhism or Shintoism?
Good question. I don't know.
Because I know Shintoism kind of takes elements of Buddhism, and it's, particular to Japan. And then there's also Buddhism, where there's a kind of Japanese interpretation of it. But it's interesting because, yeah, it kind of, as you mentioned before, it kind of makes sense, I think, a lot in the kind of the philosophy and the kind of way of looking at life that both of those systems have. And especially those pillars, when you read them, yeah, that makes sense of a kind of lot of the things that I've read or understood about Japanese culture and kind of traditions and the kind of those values that seem to be so typical of that tradition.
Mm-hmm. Nice one. Yeah, and I think this, I'm not sure, but I know that there's been, Japan's been invaded by China. Don't know what year, but quite some time ago. And that's when the Chinese offered the Buddhism to them. So definitely before that time, it was just, what do you call it? The Shintoism?
Yeah, Shintoism, yeah.
Shintoism, yes, yeah.
Yeah, because Shinto in itself, it kind of incorporates different religions that were brought to Japan from Asia. So it's got kind of, I think, elements of Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism, and then, yeah, it's kind of combined into something that is particularly Japanese. But yeah, in itself, it kind of borrows from many traditions.
Right, yeah. Cool. Well, I hope I didn't overload all your brains.
No, that was really wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. And I have to go soon, gonna visit a friend of mine, so yeah, I'm gonna stick around for a little bit and then leave. So I want to say, yeah, enjoy the Roots and Resilience, and I will be looking at the recording soon.
Wonderful. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for the presentation.
Great. Yeah, that was lovely. Thank you so much again, Roy.
Welcome.
Okay, so next we've got, how do you guys feel it's
You're on mute, Sophie.
thanks a lot. Yeah, it's 10 to now, so we can I can do my session and we can have a break a bit later, or we can have a break now. What do you prefer?
How long is your session planned for?
20 minutes.
For me, it's okay to continue.
Okay, so we'll take the break at 10 past then, if everyone's okay with that.
Yeah, that's good.
And by me.
Okay, cool. Hugh's here. Yeah, sorry, I don't know if you were there all the time, Hugh. We did a little change of the program. So I'll do my session now till 10
Yeah.
past. Then we'll have the break until 25 past. So are you okay to start your session 10 minutes
that's
later
fine.
at 25? Okay, great. Okay, so Zoe is being kind enough to share screen for me because of my funny internet connection.
Yes. Can you see this?
Yep, great. Okay, so I want to talk today a bit about grafting fruit trees. So yeah, maybe the first thing that is good to know, yeah, because this came up in the forest gardening course. We were kind of discussing different things about grafted trees and about why and how, and I thought it would be good to speak about it a bit more. But in terms of the people who are actually here now, maybe, yeah, it's good to know how much you actually know, because if everyone already knows about grafting, we can talk maybe more about what we've done and some experiments and some ideas. And if anyone doesn't have an idea, then I can just go over the basics of like what it is as a concept. So who has no idea what grafting is? You can just shout out. Okay, so you all have some idea, yeah?
I've
Cool.
never done it before, though. I've heard a lot about it, but I've never done it in practice.
Aha, great. Okay, well, hopefully after this you'll have a chance to do it. How about the rest of you? Have any of you done some grafting before?
Same as Zoe, I've never done any. I've read a little bit about it, but that's all.
Same.
Same for me as well.
Okay, cool. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, it's something that, yeah, we've done a lot in our place. My partner Krasi, he's also done a lot of grafting, and yeah, it's something that's been really enjoyable for us in terms of, yeah, having a kind of diversity of fruit trees and having trees that are more productive in different situations. So if you want to go to the next slide. Yeah. So in terms of grafting, who would like to say what grafting is? Does anyone want to give a quick definition?
It's basically cloning a plant in a way, or yeah, you take a piece of a plant and then you kind of put it on the roots of another plant, and then it will actually be a clone of the mother plant in the end, if you do it well.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, what you usually have is you've got your rootstock, which is chosen for certain characteristics it has, and then your scion, which is the bit you're attaching to it, which is usually from a known kind, because basically when, yeah, you've got a fruit tree, and when it's pollinated, if you imagine the fruit tree is like the mother and then the tree that pollinates it is the father, if you plant the seed from that fruit, you can't be sure that it will be true to type. So you might get something pretty similar, especially if it's grown in an orchard where most of the surrounding trees are from the same kind. You might get something different. In commercial settings, the fear is that you'll get something not very good. It won't be the same characteristics. It won't be sweet enough or big enough, or it will be too unknown. So there is that kind of issue that you could have something you didn't expect. But on the other hand, planting from seed, you can also get something that you didn't expect that's amazing. You could get a new kind of fruit. And that's how all the amazing diversity of fruits that we have. Like if you think just about apples, there are so many different kinds and so many different kind of local varieties that have adapted into all different kinds of niches, microclimates, places across the world. So that's one of the amazing things about working from seeds. You're always going to get something new and surprising. So one of the reasons why commercially most of the trees that you buy and most of the fruit that we eat are from grafted trees is so that you can have that kind of standardization of the fruit. So you can say that this is a Cox's orange pippin, and for sure it's that, and it will taste generally the same no matter kind of where it comes from, and it's kind of got that branding. But another reason why it's actually useful to graft as well is because when you're mixing the two together, what you're doing is you're choosing a rootstock which has certain characteristics. So for example, you've got the different size rootstocks. So you can have like going from the pixie, the semi-standard, standard, and so you can control the size of the tree depending on what you put it on. So for example, pears in general will grow really large, but if you put it on a quince rootstock, then you're going to be able to control its size, and you're also going to be able to have a crop of fruit much sooner. So yeah, one of the reasons I wanted to speak about this now, because grafting in general is something you want to kind of be doing at the end of the winter, kind of very early spring. But what's interesting now is in terms of doing your own grafting, a lot of the trees around you are going to be fruiting, and now is a really good time to go around kind of noticing either in your own garden or in any kind of public spaces that you might be able to kind of make some interventions in. Kind of, are there any trees that are giving really delicious fruit? You know, are there any trees that are not productive and haven't been productive for a long time? And kind of making a note, like marking them in some way, and then coming back to them at the time when you're actually going to do the grafting. So like we went to the sea recently, and we passed, like just on the main road, we passed a lot of pear trees, and they're like kind of wild pears, but one of them had amazing fruits on it. So it's like possible to mark that now and to go back at the time that we wanted to take a scion from that, and to know that like that's a very interesting tree. So that's kind of why I wanted to speak about it now. And in terms of, yeah, like the actual kind of technical part of the grafting, how it's working, are you all kind of clear about what you're actually doing when you're joining the two together in terms of the structure of the tree?
Not really. It would be good to maybe recap it a little.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, if you're thinking about the tree, what you've got is you've got the bark, which is on the outside, and then underneath the bark, you've got the cambium layer, and that's the layer where you're having that transmission of like nutrients and water up and down the tree. So it's kind of like maybe the veins of the tree. And that's the very vital layer. So like, for example, when a tree gets rim barked, when it gets chewed all the way around its circumference, that's why the top of the tree will die, because you don't have that transportation of nutrients up from down and down from up. So basically, when we're grafting, what we're trying to do is make sure that we've got maximum contact between the cambium layer of the scion, which is of the known kind, and of the rootstock. So what I'm going to do is just go over, if we go to the next slide. So yeah, here you can just see when you're thinking about the things you're going to put together, what you want to think about is what can you graft onto what. So the obvious thing is that you can graft an apple onto an apple, So you can grow, for example, a rootstock from seed, and then you can put a known kind onto it. And that's going to work because, first of all, you have the known kind, and second, because of the process of grafting, it's going to fruit sooner. But then you can start to do a lot of interesting things by combining it. So, for example, we've got pip fruits. And yeah, I haven't explained all of this with the Latin names, but this is just kind of like a quick way to think about it. So you've got pip fruits, which are apples, pears, and quince. So as I mentioned, you could put like a pear on a quince, you can put an apple on a pear on an apple. So within that family, you can make different combinations. And then there's the stone fruits. So you've got peaches, almonds, apricots, cornelian cherry, which is a dogwood, Cornus mas, cherry, all the different kinds of cherries, plums, and then the mirabelle plums, so like the wild plums. And again, you can make a lot of interesting combinations with that. So for example, in Bulgaria, we've got a lot of mirabelle plums. They grow wild everywhere. They have very strong roots. They make a very vigorous root system, and they're really good to use as a rootstock for planting on some of these others that can be more difficult to start, or if they're on their own roots, they can be more vulnerable to drought or to heat or to frost or to any different things. So you can see, yeah, where you've got families, you can look at which ones have the kind of more extensive, strong root system. And use that if you're in a difficult situation, or look at which has a kind of smaller, more compact root system. If you've got like an urban garden or a tight space and you want something that's quite small. So for example, a cornelian cherry is typical. It's kind of shrubby, like most of the dogwoods. So that could be also an interesting rootstock if you wanted something to be smaller. Then you've got like the horse, so like hawthorn, which you can use as a rootstock for medlar. And then there's some, yeah, which you can, as far as I know, other people might have different experience, but you can only graft onto themselves. So walnuts, you can graft onto walnuts. Mulberry, you can graft onto mulberry. Although Krasi was telling me about someone he knew who did a really interesting I don't know if it's experiment or if it's known technique.
This from different places.
It's like a known thing. Yeah.
I don't know how, didn't see how it works.
So what they do is they have a grape, which is growing vigorously, a mulberry, which is growing vigorously. And then they make a hole in the trunk of the mulberry and kind of feed the grape through. So it's not actually grafted in the traditional sense, but the rootstock of the mulberry is feeding the grape. So you get a much more productive grape.
Then you cut both.
You cut the top of the mulberry.
The bottom of the grape.
And the
top
top.
of the
And then you do actually combine them. So yeah, you cut out the root structure of the grape and you cut off the top of the mulberry. So that's kind of maybe one of the more kind of Frankenstein combinations that you could make. But generally, yeah, it works best if you keep within the family group. So if we go to the next one. So yeah, this is one. There are a lot of different techniques for grafting. There are also summer techniques, and yeah, there's a lot of kind of, everyone has their favorite technique who's into it and different traditions. But I'm just going to go over two that we've used and that I think are pretty simple and kind of very easy to have success with, kind of beginners grafting. So the first one is whip and tongue. So that basically you need to have the same diameter of your rootstock and of your scion. So that works best when you've got either a young rootstock, so then you'd cut it just above the ground and you'd add the scion to it. Or it also works if you've got a slightly bigger tree and you do a higher graft. So the advantage of that is you've got a more extensive root system already, so it's going to fruit sooner. You've got a head start. And also you can do a higher graft if you've got any worry of browsing, like animals coming to chew from the scion bark. or if it's in a public place and you're worried about any damage to it. So that one, basically, you're making both of the cuts at an angle, and then you're making a small slit on that diagonal. And then when you put them together, you've got to make sure that the cambium lines up all the way around the edge, and you've got a good tight graft, and then you wrap it up and protect it. And yeah, and so it should be about the size of a pen. Yeah, about a pen size is good for the rootstock and the scion. So I'll show you some examples afterwards so you can see the different ways we've used it. And the next one is cleft grafting. So this you would usually use, you can see, with a mature tree. So this is useful if you've got a pretty mature tree that isn't productive, or you've got a kind of monoculture of one kind of tree and you'd like to have some diversity, or you need a pollinator. So that's a good way to use this technique. And here you're only cutting, you're slicing very shallowly, just the bark, and you're opening that bark layer. And then your scion, you're making again a very diagonal cut. So I think on this picture you can see from the different angles what it looks like. So you've got that and that's to have the maximum surface area. So you've got like a good contact, so it's stable. And here you could put like two, so you can put one on each side, and then again you put the bark back over it and you wrap it up, and then you want to put wax on the top. So you can get, yeah, lots of special like grafting tapes and grafting wax and things like that. We do it with electrical tape. That works pretty well. There's this plastic electrical tape and then our beeswax on the top. You just have to remember with all the grafting, when you wrap it, to take off the wrapping when it starts to heal, so it doesn't strangle the tree, because the tree will start to grow, but the wrap will not grow. Yeah, we've had trees dying from that. So any questions about those two techniques so far?
Yes, I have a because here the rootstock is flat on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
And you say like about using wax, but you can also like make like it has a bit of a roof so that the water doesn't stay on top of it, right? That it doesn't the rootstock from the inside.
Yeah, with the cleft grafting, yeah. You can either put the wax on, so the wax is also going to be allowing the water to come off. So you can either shape the wax, like when we do it, we put the wax at a bit of an angle, so you kind of make a wedge shape from the wax, and that allows the water to run off. But yeah, you can also make whatever structure. Yeah, you can use a paint, you can make a roof. Yeah, depending on the climate. Yeah, if you've got like very rainy climate, then you need to be more careful to protect it.
In fact, this with wax is a bit experiment, because I don't know how it work out in winter. Because the wax become very hard and can break in the winter.
The wax can become brittle.
Zero temperature. I don't know how this will work.
Yeah. So yeah, we've put wax for now, but yeah, maybe we're going to add something else a bit more stable to it.
I would just cut the rootstock like with like an angle, and then put the two grafts on like either side of it. I don't know if you like.
Yeah,
if you have like this shape of the rootstock, and then on that and that side you put the graft, then the water doesn't stay on top of it and doesn't rot it from the inside.
So let's ask the second graft.
No, I try to be flat.
So why
maybe
would
it makes sense to be a bit steep, just water to don't stay on the top if it's water level somehow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But why is it usually cut flat?
It's good to put something to protect, because I have a bad experience with the open one. So the tree start to make fruits, and after 5 years, for example, it was broken because it was rotten the grafted part, and the size was maybe 10 centimeters of the bottom of the base.
Yeah. But maybe the question is, do you know why in all the kind of textbook examples they show it cut straight across the rootstock?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Due to decrease the surface area for healing, I don't know, that would be a guess.
Yeah, that's one reason. It might be also that it's easier to align them when you've got a straight surface, because if you've got a diagonal surface, then you're going to have to cut off more of the bark from the scion, so that you've got it kind of all touching without bark between the cadmium of the rootstock and of the scion. But generally, I think if you cut it straight and then you put something protective over it, then yeah, the kind of the wax or the paint or whatever you use over the top. You can also wrap like the plastic tape all the way over the top as well to create like a little hat. And then that usually does the trick of keeping it, all the moisture out of it.
But this work one is quite small, like 2-3 centimeters.
Yeah.
Because it closing after a year, for example. But if it's very big, I think it's good to have something not natural.
Oh yes, I was going to ask this because we have a bramley tree, and I guess a lot of the branches are fairly big, and I was just thinking, oh, this might be nice, so I can graft on a different sort of apple onto it, if that was possible with a bramley. But yeah, so you think maybe just a couple of centimeters for the parent, the rootstock tree. And also, could you do this on a branch? It's not just from a young trunk, is it? Is it from any branch?
You can.
Yeah, yes, you can do some higher up. I'm just aware of the time. I've got a few more slides. I don't know if everyone's feeling like they need a break or to carry on for a few more minutes.
We can finish the session, right?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Okay, cool. Yeah, today we're a small group. We're a bit more informal. So yeah, if you want to just go through the next slide. So yeah, this is another technique that you can do in the summer that I'm not going to go into because it's a bit more complicated, bud grafting. And if you go into the next one.
I don't know if it's complicated. I tried, but it didn't happen for me, didn't work out, and I don't do it.
Yeah, it's not something we've got successful experience about, so I think it's better to talk about the things that we've done.
You put the graft, and the next year you understand if it works.
Yeah, so you have to wait till the next year to see if it was a success. And then the next slide is, again, it's bridge grafting. So this is actually using the same technique as the cleft grafting, which was the second one we saw, but you can do a number of cleft grafts, and it's a way of repairing a damaged tree. Yeah, it looks a bit like a kind of Frankenstein monster mouth or something, doesn't it? Basically, yeah, like Hannibal. Yeah, so if you've got a tree that's been browsed heavily, and as I was saying, if it's almost made a whole circle, then there's a danger of the tree dying because the cadmium is not complete, so you can't have that interchange. So this is a way of healing it and also stopping a rot getting in, because if you have that big open wound without the living tissue, then you can again have some disease getting into the tree. So that's another thing that you could think about. So that's using the same technique of cleft grafting. And then if you go to the next one, here you can see an example from our place of the whip and tongue grafting. So on the left, I don't know if you can see where the join is. I think a little bit. Yeah, Zoe can point where she thinks it is, where the mouse is. Go up a little bit.
Oh, here.
Yeah, you see it there? So you can see there that diagonal joint, and that one's healed quite well. It's a bit like surgery, isn't it? Like the doctor saying, it's healed very well. So there you can see that's actually one that's higher up. If you look at the photo on the right, you can see that it's actually, yeah, quite a tall, spindly tree, and that the graft is quite high up. So that is, yeah, one that we've done that's been successful. So yeah, you can do them high up. And you can go to the next slide. This is one where you can see that it wasn't so neat and tidy. You see on the right. So you can see that it's again another whip and tongue, and it hasn't really healed properly. It's kind of like exploded a little bit, but it's actually was successful because the top is alive and it's been growing. So sometimes you don't get a good join. Sorry, one of the neighbor's kids has just come in to ask something. Yeah, sometimes you don't get a very perfect join, but it can still be successful. So that's one of the reasons why it's good to tape it very well, to kind of have that compression, so you don't get a kind of strange joint like that. I'm not sure now how it will grow over time, but if you go to the next slide, you can see one of the other strange things that happens. Yes, you can see here on the left, this is a rootstock of wild pear that's had apple grafted onto it. And you can see that the apple grows at a different rate from the wild pear. So you've now got this kind of funny thin section to the bottom. And then when two branches have been grafted on, it's grown and become kind of bulbous. So again, this is an experiment to see what will happen. And then if we go to the last ones, yes, you can see these are ones, we got some trees from Martin Crawford's nursery, and we took some cuttings, we planted the trees, so he'd already grafted them, we planted the whole trees, and then we took some scions from those trees and grafted them onto wild trees. So we have a lot of wild pears growing in our place, which don't really give fruit, or if they give fruit, it's something very small. So yeah, the trees that we got from him directly, maybe one or two fruits, and these ones which are already on an established rootstock have already got a lot of fruits on them, so they're kind of a lot ahead. If you go to the next one, yeah, this is an example of the cleft graftings. You can see here there's like two on either side, and it's got wax over the top. And yeah, that's a happy looking tree. And yeah, with all of these, a good thing to remember is once they start growing, you need to trim the top of the new growth, because especially if you live in a windy place like here, they can grow quite vigorously in the first season. So that was done this year, and it's grown a lot, and we've just cut down all the branches by half, because otherwise if you have a strong wind, it can break it off at the graft.
Also, I don't know if you said, but if it's open space, when you put fresh graft,
yeah,
it's good to stack outside some old branches.
Yeah, to protect it.
To protect, to have space, birds to land.
Yeah, for the birds to land on the decoy branches rather than on the grafted branch.
Because they are very fragile.
Yeah, if you have a big fat bird landing on your new graft,
No matter how big the bird is.
Yeah, they can weigh it down and you can have a problem. So, okay, the last slide, you can just see, yeah, some lovely pears. So we have, yeah, from these wild pear trees that weren't productive, we now have like a big diversity of pears. And yeah, maybe the last things that I just wanted to say was kind of, this is the area that interests me, is yeah, what you can do in terms of more like guerrilla grafting. So if there are like wild trees, you could graft on more edible kinds to them. So that could be like in land you own, or maybe in some kind of like in between kind of land. Obviously I don't suggest doing this in like some kind of protected area or in someone else's land, but you know, there are a lot of kind of abundant pieces of land, kind of no man's land. And yeah, it can be an interesting thing. There are a lot of city trees which are decorative that could become fruiting trees. In Bulgaria, it's quite common in the city, in a lot of the areas where there are like a lot of estates of apartments, in between their kind of trees in the grassy common areas. And a lot of them, you'll see people have just gone out and grafted them. And so they've made their own kind of fruit orchard in the city. And yeah, I think this is a really nice way to use the grafting to think about kind of creating guerrilla food forests around the city or around different spaces. And yeah, having more food that could be shared by different people. So yeah, apologies that I've run over a little bit. If anyone has any questions.
Should I stop the sharing, Sophie?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thank you for the session. I learned new techniques on how to graft. So I'm also very eager to start crafting this winter. I've already seen some trees here.
Yeah. So yeah, now's a good time to kind of notice what could be your rootstock, where you could take scions, and then kind of at the end of winter, the important thing is you want to do it, you want to take your scions and then you want to make the connection. It's useful to do kind of at the end of winter, so there's not a danger of frost, and when the buds become a little bit enlivened, but before they open, because you want the connection to happen while the tree is just coming out of dormancy. So it kind of wakes up, finds itself in a new place, and kind of accepts the situation and starts to grow. Yeah.
Thank you. That's really interesting, and maybe got some more ideas now of things that I could do here and in the local area, so we can grow more. Thank you.
Yeah, very welcome. Yeah, maybe we can share some pictures in the future of grafting experiments that people have done.
Yeah, cool.
Wonderful. Okay, so it's now 25 past. Do we want to have a break? Do we want to carry on with Hugh's session? How do we feel?
I would like to have a break.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
Sorry, I didn't understand you.
I said good idea. Yeah, let's have a bite.
Okay. What do we want to take? 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
10's fine.
Okay, so it's now like 25 past, so we'll come back at 35 past?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, see you in 10.
I'll stop the recording.
Okay.
You can remind me to put it on again.
Yeah, for sure.